I'd like to turn it over to Christopher Obropta, who's been a friend, a guiding force for the Whippany River watershed as long as I've been with the organization. That's 12 years. He's been a guest speaker many times, always sharing invaluable information. So, Chris, take it away.
Great, excellent, excellent. So I'm with the Cooperative Extension Service, Rutgers Cooperative Extension. We've been around for about 100 years in New Jersey, mostly helping farmers deal with agricultural issues. It's funny, the other day somebody introduced me and said, well, Chris is one of these, he's kind of like one of the agricultural agents at Cooperative Extension, except he works with municipalities and people that deal with stormwater problems. And that's kind of exactly what I do. This is my program's mission, to identify and address community water resources issues using sustainable and practical science-based solutions. As we know, every mission statement has to have as all buzzwords in it as possible, and that has them all. Basically, what this means is my job is to run around the state and help people solve their water problems. So I'm housed in New Brunswick. My office is on Cook Campus at Rutgers. I have 8 full-time staff who work for me, all funded on grant money. And we usually employ anywhere between 10 and 20 full-time undergrad students over the summer. Unfortunately, with the coronavirus this year, we were unable to offer our intern program shift this summer. So we only have about 3 or 4 students working for us this summer. So it's a little disappointing. Okay, so this is New Jersey. This is the forests of New Jersey, the farms of New Jersey, and you can see the thunderstorms moving in there on top. The corporate centers of New Jersey, right? The townhouses of New Jersey, and the single family homes in New Jersey. So what we're dealing with here is really stormwater management. So as it rains, that stormwater runs off the land and carries pollution with it to our waterways and causes flooding. The forested area, the natural area, you get about 10% stormwater runoff. So in New Jersey, we get about 45 inches of rain a year on average. So about 10% of that would run off from a forested area. Most of it will get absorbed. Okay. About 20% will run off from a single family home situation where you have, 1 to 5 acre lots, so you get a little bit more runoff. You have smaller lots, 1/4 acre to 1/2 acre, you get about 30% runoff. And then you get downtown, Morristown, and some of the urban areas, we get about 55% runoff. Okay. So the idea of what we're trying to do is how do we make these more impervious surfaces in these more developed areas look more like a forested area. Okay. So, first attempt of that in New Jersey was these these ugly detention basins. And the idea was when it rained, these basins would detain all the stormwater from the development, hold it for a few days, and let it out slowly over time so we don't flood our downstream neighbor. So these were very popular in the late 70s up until just recently. We used to build these on a regular basis. The idea is you put one big basin at the bottom of the hill, and that managed the rainfall from, maybe 40 or 50 houses, right? So that was kind of the whole point of it. So one system to manage lots of area. And you could see, some of them are surrounded by these beautiful natural pine trees. I think that's the Norway maple there, or the Colorado blue spruce. So really not from New Jersey. Very monoculture, have these concrete low flow channels in it. You can see it filled with water because the channel's clogged. But those channels were meant to hurry the smaller storms out and just hold the bigger storms. So these did very little for water quality because the smaller storms kind of pass right through them. And about 90% of the rainfall we get in New Jersey comes in storms that are less than 1.25 inches. So when you design a basin to handle 8 inches of rain and you're only getting 1.25 inches rain, the basins aren't very effective. Okay. So there's a new way to manage stormwater. It's called green infrastructure. And the idea is that instead of having one big system at the bottom of the hill, why don't we stagger small systems throughout the entire community, capture the water near its source. Okay. And the idea is that, when it comes off your rooftop, we're capturing it in your yard, or comes off it's on a road in front of your house, we're capturing it off the side of the road. And we manage it where it lands as opposed to letting it travel and carry all pollution downhill, to that big basin at the bottom of the hill. So these are systems that are designed to capture, filter, absorb the water, infiltrate it back into the ground, and in some cases reuse water. So that's a big thing that we try to do. So these are some of the green infrastructure practices that we know about and that we use frequently. I'm really just going to really talk about the first two, rain gardens and permeable pavements today. But you can see the other ones here, the bioswale. Swale is just a nice word for ditch, drainage ditch. And bio means life, so it means a ditch with life. So basically, it's a vegetated swale, a vegetated ditch meant to move water from one location to another. And as the water is moving through the ditch, it's getting filtered, it's getting infiltrated, it's getting treated. Downspout planters, so think of a rain barrel, but instead of just holding the water, it also has plants in it. Stormwater planters are really the thing you can kind of see in that picture in the center along the roadway. So you have these cutouts along the road where you have basically rain gardens built into the side of the road. We often call those stormwater planters. And then rainwater harvesting, most of you probably have a rain barrel. Some bigger systems we've used in the past, these bigger cisterns, capture much more water, does a much better job of managing rainwater. So that's important. Okay, so we have rain gardens. Another name for rain gardens are bioretention systems. The problem with the bioretention system terminology is that nobody knows what it is. It sounds a little scary. So we quickly converted it to rain gardens and started talking about it as rain gardens. It sounds much nicer. The idea is it's a shallow landscape depression. It's designed to capture the first 3 to 4 inches of rain from the rooftop, or the roadway, or the driveway. It fills up with 3 to 6, maybe 9 inches of water, standing water when it's raining. And within 12 to 24 hours after the storm, all that water seeps into the ground. As the water is moving into the ground, it's getting treated, it's getting filtered. The plants are taking up the nutrients. The plants are providing some habitat for pollinators and other species. There's a mulch layer in there where there's some microbial activity that also kind of decomposes some of the pollutants. So it becomes a very effective system. And if it's built right, it looks just like a part of your landscape. So you can see here's a schematic of one with catching rainwater from the roadway, going into the garden. The gardens are very flat, so it's like very much like a bathtub. So it fills up uniformly. And then once it gets to about 6 or 8 inches deep, that water slowly percolates into the ground. And then it's gone quickly after the storm and into the ground and recharging your groundwater table. Here's some pictures of gardens that were built all over New Jersey. The one in the center picture is actually down in Camden. There was an abandoned gas station, and we converted it into a rain garden park. It's now the gateway to the southern ward of Camden. We've got 4 rain gardens there that really treat the water from the surrounding roadways. And here's one of the gardens, a little bit in the off season. But I show this picture a lot because you can see there's a grate on top. I don't know if you can see that up here. So it gets water from the roadway through the sidewalk, and it comes into this garden and fills up this garden. So it really is a great way to treat stormwater from the road. That metal grate, the grating on it's small enough so you can ride a bicycle over it without getting caught, your tires caught. So it's safe for people. And these become really nice systems. Here's one that we had built at a corporate center. What I like about this is we excavated out the dirt to make this rain garden about 6 inches deep, but then we kept the dirt on site to give the land a little bit of a contour and a little bit character, instead of just having that flat area. So that's really, really nice, kind of like that. Here's one at school. Somebody said they were part of the school system when they were introduced themselves. We do a lot of these at school. So here's a grate here right off the school. So this is an inlet. So we use the existing infrastructure here. And the idea is we dug 6 inches around it. This fills up with water. When we get over 3 or 4 inches of rain, the water overflows, goes into the inlet, and goes out to where it was going. So it becomes a really, really nice system. And the kids help build this and design it. So it's a lot of fun working with the children on this. So that's nice. Here's one at a house. It looks just like landscaping, but when you get close, you realize it is a depression. It is taking water from the downspout, and it is treating that water. And then here's one in a parking lot. What I like about this one the most is that it has a lot of different perennial species in it that really can attract the pollinators. You can also see there's a multi-stem river birch in it in the upper left-hand side. So it becomes a really nice system to manage water, and it can look really beautiful. So this becomes a really nice project. The second system that we use a lot of in New Jersey are permeable pavements. So we think of this as a porous asphalt system, this one here, where all the parking spots have a porous asphalt. So it's a very coarse material. Water passes right through the asphalt, goes into the stone layer underneath it, and slowly percolates into the ground. So you can see there's different types of this stuff. The fellow holding that piece in the upper right-hand corner, that is called pervious concrete. So it looks a little bit like a rice cake, but it's very coarse, so water can pass right through it. And what winds up happening, it's still a hard surface. You can drive on it, you can park on it, but it allows water to pass through it and get back into the ground. Here's a schematic of what it would look like. You know, you have the asphalt on top or the concrete on top. Water goes right through that surface into that stone layer. The stone stores the water until it can slowly seep back into the ground. As the water is moving through the stone, it gets cleaner and cleaner because it's like a filter. You think about your Brita filter on your faucet. Well, as water is passing through the filter, the pollutants are getting attached to the particles in the filter, and then clean water comes out of the bottom. This is the same type of system. What's nice about this is because the water infiltrates very quickly, you don't have to use as much salt on it when you, in the winter, when it ices over, and it will rarely ice over because there won't be any black ice because water doesn't sit on the surface to freeze. As soon as the water hits the surface, it goes through the asphalt into the stone layer underneath and becomes a really, really nice system. So here's a project we built in Clark, New Jersey. You can see all the parking spaces are porous, and the cartway where the cars drive is regular asphalt in here. So water runs off the regular asphalt, goes into this porous area, and percolates quickly into the stone layer underneath to be infiltrated into the ground. Very nice system. You'll notice in the system there are no catch basins. We don't need to put any inlets here because the entire asphalt surface infiltrates. So we don't need any piping, any inlets. The water can just infiltrate into the stone underneath and then into the ground. This is EPA in Edison. There's a Environmental Protection Agency Center in Edison, New Jersey. It's the Office of Research and Development. They do have porous asphalt, pervious concrete, permeable pavers here. And the idea is that, you know, they do testing on this. What you're supposed to do with this material is you're supposed to vacuum it twice a year as a way to clean it. What they did in Edison is they didn't do any maintenance on it at all. And after 8 or 10 years, it's still infiltrating at the rate it was originally at. And this is the parking lot they park on every day. It's not out of the way, so it really gets a lot of use. So the chances of clogging, unless you have a lot of soil or dirt washing on it, or you use a lot of grit when you're salting the roads, the chances of clogging are very slim. Pervious concrete. This is an example of a project we had done in front of a school. You can see it's a very coarse material. One concern about this is if you over salt this, that material tends to break up and it gets kind of dusty and can actually clog the system. Permeable pavers, the water infiltrates between the cracks. You know, you don't see too much of this. It's very expensive, this material, compared to the other two. So you see a lot of this, like, you know, when you're walking down the main street, sometimes you'll see this on as part of the walkway along the street. You'll see this in some people's driveways. This extent of it here in this picture, there's a lot of it here. This is a pretty expensive project, okay? And then grass pavers. We actually did this in Parsippany at the Public Works building there. And this is behind their Public Works building. It's their fire road, so it can hold a fire truck. And the idea is when it rains, the water goes right through those grass diamonds and the stone layer underneath. And once again, it stores the water so it can infiltrate into the ground. Very nice system, works very well. Great for kind of overflow parking. So my kids, when they were young, used to play soccer, and I drive to these soccer fields, and all these parking lots would be paved. I'm like, why are you paving these? Why aren't these grass pavers? It's much better for the environment, you know? So, you know, we talk a lot about stormwater management in New Jersey, and most people immediately say that, well, you know, the developers need to do more. Well, 90% of our waterways aren't meeting water quality standards. All of New Jersey floods when we get 1 to 2 inches of rain. So even if the developers increase no additional stormwater runoff, we still have those problems, right? And we do have some pretty good stormwater regulations now that prevent developers from not doing the right thing. So the bigger thing is we need to go back into existing development and retrofit it with stormwater management, okay? So to do that, we often need a plan. So Rutgers has been developing green infrastructure plans for a while. This is one that we did for Hillsborough. And you'll notice here, there's about 24 sites that we identified here where we could quickly implement green infrastructure. A lot of the sites are churches and schools, you know, and park areas. So very public, highly visible places where people can see it. You notice most of the sites are in the center of town where most of the development is, right? And it's the older part of development where there's lack of stormwater management. So for each site, there's a site, the municipal building here. It's not just a municipal building, it's a whole complex. It's a library, police station, senior center, you know, it's all in this one complex. So you can see this is one of the sites we chose. We just have some information on the site in these tables, and then we actually show you where we could put different practices. So this is an aerial photograph of the building here. And you can see we want to put a rain garden over here to take this parking lot runoff. So all the green spots are rain gardens. All the blue spots are the drainage areas to those rain gardens. So you can see how much of the area we're going to be able to manage with rain gardens. And then the orange triangles, orange rectangles are porous asphalt. So this whole parking lot can be managed with a small strip of porous asphalt here. This section of parking lot can be managed with a couple small pieces of porous asphalt. So this is kind of the master plan we had done for Hillsborough and identified, you know, several projects. There's, you know, 4 rain gardens here, maybe 2 sections of pervious pavement. That's not all the potential projects at this site, but those are the ones that we identified pretty quickly and included in the plan. We often show sites like this where we'll show the before picture and then we'll Photoshop an after picture so people can get a feeling of what it would look like, right? So once again, a before picture and then an after picture, you know, so trying to figure out how to convert an area into a green infrastructure area. So this is a before picture of Hillsborough right in front of the building. We originally didn't call for a rain garden to be here, but this is where the town wanted to put it. So we kind of Photoshopped it up. Okay, this is what it might be able to look like. And then we actually built it. So Pat Rector, you might remember her. She got a grant to help build this, and town was very excited about it. The New Jersey Tree Foundation came out. We hired them to help us dig it out. The township helped dig it out a little bit too. We got volunteers to plant it. You can see this is the finished product. We put this stone walkway in. What's really interesting is this is the main entrance to the municipal building. So at Christmas time, they'll put a sign under our rain garden sign that says Santa Claus this way. And at the end of the path, at the bottom of this picture, they would have a little booth where the kids could come and talk to Santa. Pretty interesting. Put Christmas lights all through the rain garden. So it's really, really nice. And then here's a picture of it later, second season, late in the season. You see how big it grew. You see the benches that are there, very nice. People can come out here and hang out and relax and read books from the library. This is interesting because what we had done here is we built the rain garden, and we had built it, I don't know if you can see my mouse here, but we built it in this lower area down here in front of the building. But then we decided that maybe we can turn this into a master plan for the whole building. So we've got pathways going around, connecting different gardens. We've got porous asphalt areas still called out, pollinator gardens. And then we started getting more people involved, you know. So we had these pathways that kind of just ended, you know, because that section was already built. So somebody comes on and builds the next project and connects up with that pathway. You can see here the bench was built as part of an Eagle Scout project. So that was constructed as part of his project. You know, he laid the area down for the bench and constructed the bench. Girl Scouts came in and did a pollinator garden. So that was really nice. So it turned out to be a really, really nice project. So the whole idea is that, you know, you take these one little project at the municipal building or at the school, turn it into a master plan for the entire school or the entire complex, the entire municipal complex, the entire neighborhood. We actually used the rain garden at the municipal building as a demonstration garden, and then we offered a rain garden rebate program. So people would come in, they'd spend about an hour learning about rain gardens, and then they would sign up for a half-hour time block, and we would design a rain garden specifically for their home with them. And at the end of that half hour, they would go home with a plan, they would build it, and then we would give them a gift card for up to $450, depending how big the rain garden was. So that was really, really a nice system. So we did that in Hillsborough. We must have had about 12 rain gardens built over the course of a few months. It turned out to be a really, really nice program. So that's all I have for you today. I was going to give you much more, but I thought you might want to talk a little bit about this while I'm here. This is my contact information. There's a lot of information on my website at water.rutgers.edu. There's also my email address. You can send me emails. I do get quite a few emails every day, so if I don't, be persistent. Go to my website and find one of my staff page and copy them on an email. And we got some chat questions here. Maybe I'll just try to run through some of those here. Let me see what we got. What is the cost of pervious asphalt compared to the cost of impervious asphalt? Well, the asphalt itself is the same cost. It's $2 to $4 a square foot because it's really just that first 3 or 4 inches of pavement, right? So pavement costs with pavement costs. It's not any special mix. They're not throwing diamonds in there or anything. It's just another way to mix asphalt with a fine material in it. So it costs the same. Where the increase in cost is it's a system, right? So if you went to your high school and you were going to replace the parking lot with porous asphalt, you'd have to get rid of the old asphalt and you'd have to put down a foot or two and put stone in. So that extra excavation and hauling that soil away, bringing the stone in, that's what drives the cost up. So instead of being $2 to $4 a square foot to replace the existing asphalt, you're talking anywhere from $8 to $12 a square foot to use the porous. So in a lot of cases, we're able to get funding to supplement that. That's what we did in Clark. We got money to pay the difference between regular asphalt and the porous asphalt. There wasn't too much there because we wound up losing the stormwater system that we would have had to install because there weren't any catch bases needed when we built that porous parking lot. So we wound up saving in the long run, I think, on that project. Private developers buying into green infrastructure. Well, yes, they have to actually. The new stormwater regulations that came out in March of 2020 require all major development to use green infrastructure. So you're going to see a lot more of these rain gardens and bioretention systems, a lot more porous asphalt. There's a lot of engineers that, for example, Van Cleef Engineering down here in South Jersey do a lot of projects in my town. And every single one of their projects is porous asphalt. Found a way to, store the water under the asphalt. It increases their density. They can have more houses in. So it's a great way to improve their bottom line. And it's a very workable system. It's got a lot of good reputation right now. So that's one thing. So developers, the New Jersey Future just released a green infrastructure development guide, a developer's guide. Great document that you can look at. Shows you some great examples. So that becomes a really nice thing. The reg I mentioned was the stormwater management regulations. It's I could put it in here, I guess. Okay, so those are coming out in March of 2020. People will have to start complying with them by March of 2021. So all development that comes in is going to have to look a little different than it does now. Okay. 7-acre farm, but has a ton of flooding. The farm is basically mud. So what's interesting with agricultural land use is there's this thing called the Farm Bill. You might have heard about it. The U.S. Puts in many millions of dollars into the Farm Bill. And a lot of that goes to the Natural Resource Conservation Service, which we have here in New Jersey. And they use that money to help farmers put in agricultural management practices, right? So they're helping farmers deal with stormwater runoff, other problems like that. The only issue with that money is that usually the farmer has to contribute. So the Farm Bill will pay for 75% of the practice, and the farmer himself will have to pay for 25%. So there is funding out there to fix these kind of problems that you're talking about, but you would have to hook up the Natural Resource Conservation Service in North Jersey with that farm, or you can call North Jersey RC&D, which is another organization that's linked to the NRCS, and they can help out too. You can send me an email. I can send you more information on who to contact and how they can help you with that. Okay. Best plants for a rain garden? Well, we use native plants. They're not wetland plants, though. The rain garden does go dry between storms. There's not always standing water in there. So we use a lot of different sedges and rushes, coneflower, a lot of things that can look very beautiful. We use a lot Sometimes the shrubs can be really big because the garden's very small, so we'll use hybrids that come like a compact or dwarf variety of shrub. One thing we like to use a lot of is inkberry holly. It's a beautiful shrub. It also comes in a compact version, which is called a shamrock inkberry holly, which only goes about 2 feet tall. Really nice plant. We do have some wetland plants that do very well in here in New Jersey, like the cardinal flower, blue flag iris. Those do very well. But you know, we got boneset and Joe Pye weed and things like that do really, really great. So there's a lot of different plants, and you could find a lot of those online. And there's actually an app that we created with the University of Connecticut. So you can go to the App Store and type in Rain Garden app, and that'll come up. And when you download it and open it up, you can select New Jersey, and it has all New Jersey specific plants and soils and criteria in there. So we had paid for them to design that for us. Unfortunately, the app is only available in Apple products right now. They did have it for the Android, but it got corrupted and they still haven't fixed it. They're still working on that. But you know, if you have an iPhone, it's perfect for that. We had the Bridgewater Middle School students download the app and design a rain garden for middle school. We helped them build it. So it's pretty cool. It's a great tool. We do have a rain garden guidance manual on our webpage. You can download. There's lots of plants in there, information in there on that. Typical rain garden is about 1/5 of the drainage area. So if you have a driveway that's 50 feet by 20 feet, 1,000 square feet, your rain garden would need to be about 200 square feet inside, which would be about 20 by 10. So that's a good rule of thumb, about 1/5 the drainage area. So, and that's to work out really nice. The average rain garden for an individual home is anywhere from 100 to 300 square feet. You know, it's not that big. Maintenance requirements for a rain garden. Well, it is a garden. All gardens require maintenance. So it's weeding. The first year when you plant it, you really need to make sure you water it. Eventually you'll have a storm, and then you'll go like a week or two without any rain. If you put new plants in the ground, they still need to be wet. So usually the first year you're doing a little bit more watering than you would in the second year. Usually after the second year, you're not watering it at all unless you have 4 or 5 weeks of drought. So mostly it's weeding. As the plants tend to grow, you have to thin them out, trim them back. So kind of like any kind of garden, you know. It's not as easy as mowing a lawn, but then again, it looks a lot prettier than mowing a lawn. So that's a piece of it. So what else? To install a rain garden in July, would your team be able to help us design a rain garden? Do some of that, mostly rebate program. Actually, tomorrow morning at 10, I am talking to communities around Lake Hopatcong. They're running a rain garden rebate program. So we'll do a online 45-minute rain garden talk about what a rain garden is, and then they'll sign up for a time block, and we'll meet with them for a half an hour and design a rain garden with them. We've been doing those half-hour sessions online, so it's been very interesting. And they still get their rain garden design. We actually spend a little bit more time coming out and seeing people's property, because when we're in the area, we're able to do that. So we don't really design rain gardens for individuals. You know, it gets a little bit complicated because we do have a lot of work. There are some people we can recommend to do that for you. Or you could simply, you know, use the app or go to our website and download the manual. And you can always call us with questions. So it's really great. Okay. If it's for a town property, it's the same kind of thing. I mean, we'll design rain gardens for a municipality. A lot of municipalities are trying to do sustainable Jersey points. So we actually designed a few rain gardens for Bernardsville. Matter of fact, a week from Monday, we're going to go build the one at the library. We designed a couple for the park next to their municipal building. But that was a kind of a fee for servicing. They paid us for our time. It wasn't a lot, but they want to pay us for our time. Because like I said, we are all grant funded. So my salary is paid for by the university, but I've got 8 people who I pay for on grants. So we're always trying to recover that money. Okay. What else? Any other questions, comments? You can turn your microphone and ask if you want. That's fine too. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's in terms of funding sources, can you suggest funding sources for a municipal project for the difference between pervious and impervious asphalt?
Yeah, so Sustainable Jersey does give out grants. So there are some Sustainable Jersey grants. Other grants that are available from New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. They have 319H grants. I know WRWRAC had gotten a bunch of those in the past. So those are great opportunities to use those. Jersey DEP 319H, right? And then there's Sustainable Jersey, Sustainable grants. Okay. There's some national fish and wildlife grants. National Fish and Wildlife, they want you to build things that are wildlife habitat or protect water quality that wildlife habitat uses. So even though you're building a porous asphalt parking lot, it doesn't seem like that they would be very interested in it. They actually are, and they have funded those. So those are three grant sources I can give you. It's down in the chat if you want to see. Okay. So the University of Connecticut Rain Garden app, I would just recommend going to the App Store and typing in Rain Garden. It should be the only thing that comes up. If you have a problem finding it, send me an email and I'll send you a link to it. I don't have that handy to give you. What else? Anything else? No questions? Have questions? So I guess my point is, your organization, I've known you guys for a long time. And there's a lot of interesting things that can happen up in your area. Parsippany is a great town. We had done a lot of work on the Troy Brook, but really kind of focusing on that one watershed. So there's an opportunity to do some of these more township-wide or borough-wide feasibility studies to identify where there are opportunities. I always tend to start with the schools. Those are great places to start. The libraries and schools, firehouses, churches are great because a lot of times we have scouts who want to do an Eagle Scout project or Girl Scouts do their Gold Award project, and usually they're affiliated with a church, so it's a great opportunity to do something at church. So those become great ways of doing things. The other thing I see in the future, there's a lot of talk about stormwater utilities, which the idea is that everybody would pay a fee every year for their amount of impervious cover that they have on their property, because that's linked directly to how much stormwater they generate. The fees would be collected, and they would use that money to put in practices and maintain existing infrastructure. You avoid paying the fee by installing your own rain garden, then you wouldn't have to pay such a high fee. So the idea is also to encourage people to take their own initiative to reduce their fee. So that's coming down in the future. We'll see more of that, talking about that in the future. So I got somebody wants to know about the Green Infrastructure Champions Program. This is, Rutgers has a lot of different programs. They've got the Master Gardeners Program. They've got the Environmental Stewards Program. So what we had decided was, what we had realized early on is that the way projects happen is you have a local champion. And that local champion pushes and pushes and pushes, and now your local champion is probably all on out, right? So, Judy's one of those champions too. So the idea is that you need someone local who really knows what's going on and really knows the players and really has enough knowledge where they can push the idea of green infrastructure. So we didn't have a lot of champions in the States. So we said, let's create a program to create champions. So we developed this infrastructure champion program. It consists of 10 courses. Each course is 2 hours. And each course talks about different aspects of green infrastructure. And the classes, you get a certificate that you're a champion. But more importantly, you'd have additional access to our program. So if you were a champion, like, for example, the champions in Caldwell, we a Sustainable Jersey grant, and they got $20,000 to do infrastructure planning and put in projects. Champion in Westfield, we do a plan and put in a few projects, So we're trying to empower these people help them with their first couple projects so they can take it and run with it. And that's the idea behind it. So we'll be offering it again, I believe, in the fall. Certainly next January. We tend to offer it from January to May every year, but I think we might actually have a fall version this year, and I'm not sure where that's actually going to be. Fortunately, this year, the first 3 classes were at Duke Farms, and then the 4th class, because of COVID, classes 4 through 10 were online. So we went to limiting it to 40 people at Duke Farms to having, in some classes, we had over 200 people attend, and it was all free. Because once we took it out of Duke Farms, we made it free. So we had a lot of people attending it. Actually, I think we certified 47 champions this year, and last year we certified 37. So we're still working on that certification process and making sure we have everybody. It's a little hard when you're doing things online and record everybody's name. A lot of times it comes in as code words or phone numbers. So trying to make sure we have everybody on, But that's a great program. You can go to our website, water.rutgers.edu, and you can find more information out about the Green Infrastructure Champion program there. And as soon as we announce the next class, you'll know. So what we'll wind up doing probably in the fall, if we don't have a full-blown Green Infrastructure 10-session class, we may wind up doing 3 or 4 additional classes. So like advanced classes or additional classes that you guys would be welcome to sit in on and learn from. We have a lot of people asking us about new topics, and somebody wants us to focus a whole class just on pervious pavement, and how it works, and bringing different people to talk about it. So we may wind up doing that, in the fall. So, okay. If there's no other questions, I'm going to jump off and go have a burger and a beer and relax for a few hours.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. Appreciate it. I have a rain garden on my property that was done with Chris's help through a grant through the Rutgers Cooperative. So it's a labor of love. I enjoy it every single day. So thank you, Chris. We'll see you soon.
That was great, Chris.